Hello, comrade. Today I'm going to explain communism using Minecraft. So, picture this, it's the 1800s, the Industrial Revolution is kicking everyone's ass and Karl Marx wakes up one day and decides, yeah, maybe it's time we stop letting 12-year-olds die in coal mines for 3 buttons and a potato, and boom, communism. But before we start blaming capitalism for everything, let's take a step back. What actually is communism? The modern idea of communism was first proposed by two Germans, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. In 1884, they published a short book called the Communist Manifesto, which basically said, hey workers, you're being exploited and one day you're going to do something about it. The idea was simple, at least on paper. The working class or proletariat will eventually rise up, overthrow the wealthy ruling class, the bourgeoisie, and completely restructure society. No more classes, no more hierarchies, just one equal productive commune of humans, all vibing in economic harmony. Sounds good, right, comrade? Fast forward a few decades and some governments tried to make this idea real, but turning theory into policy gets tricky, comrade. To eliminate class differences, communist regimes began removing anything that could symbolize wealth or status. Clothes in communist countries were intentionally bland, practically uniforms. Cars standardized and identical, and salaries, it didn't matter if you were cleaning the streets or building bridges, everybody earned roughly the same. The ultimate goal was a money-less society, where the government provided food, housing, and clothing in equal measure. In theory, this meant no private property. Everything from farms and factories was owned by the state. And since the state owned everything, that meant it employed everyone. It also meant the state controlled all means of production, what got made, how much, and by whom. That still sounds good, comrade, but nothing's perfect. If we give too much power to some people, some of them will end up corrupting themselves. But this is not real communism! Anyways, we can talk about communism without talking about the Russian Revolution, comrade. In 1917, a group of communists in Russia called the Bolsheviks decided they had enough of SARS, famine, and losing World War I. This started a revolution, overthrew the government, and by the end of it they had taken control of the country. What followed was the birth of the Soviet Union, the world's first official communist state. For a while the USSR stood alone, but that didn't last. After World War II, many Eastern European countries, now under Soviet influence, adopted communist systems of their own, and through the 40s and the 50s, the ideology spread far beyond Europe. China, Cuba, parts of Africa, and Southeast Asia all saw revolutions or political shifts that brought communists to power. By the height of Cold War, nearly a quarter of the planet was under some form of communist regime. Maybe Marx had a point, maybe he didn't, but one thing's for sure, you can understand modern history without understanding communism. And if history teaches us anything, it's that ideas, no matter how idealistic they are, can reshape the world.